This is the fourth of these Moving Fearlessly chat series that Deb and I are hosting. This is a collaboration between Fearless Communicators and between my company, Moving Communication. We were inspired within the transformation that has hit the world through COVID to move the way we chat and connect with people online into Zoom and onto Zoom. So here we are. Is there anything else we wanted to say? I wanted to, yes, of course, to start with an acknowledgement of country. I'm here on Gadigal land, and to acknowledge, you know, the ancestry and the leadership and the custodianship of this land that we stand upon, and also to connect with the storytellers in that culture. And that too is a theme that runs through Moving Communication, Fearless Communication, Moving Communication, and now Moving Fearlessly. The power of storytelling to connect and to teach and to learn together. So, yeah, welcome. This is the fourth. We're so thrilled. Yeah, and I'll introduce Marg later. We're going to do a bit of a grounding first of all, unless Deb, you wanted to say something from Fearless Communicators.
Coming at you live from Brooklyn, where it's hot and humid today. And today I have really deeply been missing Australia today. So it is a great delight to be with you. I really, really wish that I could be closer to my family at this time. So right now you are my family. And so we're so pleased with Fearless Communicators to be hosting these series with Johanna and Moving Communications and all of our community in Australia. And we will be back with you running programs when the world opens back up. But for now, this is how we connect. I just wanted to acknowledge that Fearless Communicators is a US-based company, and we honour and recognise the fact that we also operate on Indigenous land, and we acknowledge and look towards our elders, past, present, future, and emerging. We also acknowledge that being a US-based company, we also live in land which is often underneath the guise of the existence of institutionalised racism, misogyny, ableism, LGBTQ phobia. And we use our bodies and our voices and our stories in our dismantling of those systems and in the empowering of justice and freedom for all. So we're here in that space with you.
Yay!
Yes, indeed. All the way from Brooklyn, out into Australia, hugging you all now. The other thing that we do when we begin with Fearless Communicators, and this is something I learned from some of the cultural connections I have here in the US, is that we ask the permission of our elders to begin. So you can decide whether you identify as an elder in this space. And if you do, what I ask is that you just give us a little bit of a shake of the fingers into the screen, which is your acknowledgement that we have permission to begin. Thank you. Thank you very much for that permission. And now we're just going to start with just like bringing it to one breath, being together. We're just going to take 2 minutes to just be in our body in this moment and acknowledging you arrived. We have arrived and we are separated in space, but we are connected in breath and in this moment. So I draw you around your moving fearlessly fire to sit and to just be for this moment. So you can choose whether you like to let your eyes rest, or you may want to stay looking at the people on the screen with you. But what we're going to do is we're going to take 3 deep breaths together. And the breath in is bringing in all of the energy of this community, of this gathered group, bringing that into your physical body and letting it fill all the way up down into your belly. And then when you've got it there, hold it for a moment. Be filled up with this connection. And then as you let go, you can choose to let go of anything that you don't want to be a part of this hour. of this time when we're together as women. You just let that go. And then taking in another big, deep breath of the connection of us all around the world, connecting in conversation, stories, art. And let that fill up your belly. Hold it in there for a moment. And then as you let your breath go, what is it that you're going to be giving today in your listening, in your presence? And one more big, deep breath together. Allowing that breath to go as deep as it can down into the belly and create some space to be filled up with the goodness of this community today as we listen to stories, as we connect through conversation and art. And just to let go and let whatever you need to let go in this moment. And bringing yourself back to the screen and just taking a look at who you're with, who you are with today. It's so pleasing to see you all. Welcome to the fourth in our series of Moving Fearlessly. I'll now hand you over to Johanna and Marg. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Deb. Thanks so much. It's so, I always love that moment of just letting ourselves land here, especially here in this medium of communication, which at once feels so disembodied. And, you know, we're all kind of reduced to these small squares. It's wonderful to have that moment to arrive in our bodies through our breath and that expansiveness, and also just to see each other. I think that's I encourage us to really have a look around and see the other women here with us as we meet. Because we are moving into that sensitive and delicate dimension of our being, which is our creativity. This has been a theme really that's emerged in these chats so far, is around supporting our creativity. It's such an important part of who we are and how we show up in the world and what we make in the world. I know personally I've had have had an up and down journey with my creativity, and part of that has been very, not feeling very confident about it. And the importance of people who've supported me and guided me through my creative journey, I still hold deep in my heart. And which brings me to Marg, who is a guide and a mentor for people's creativity. And she's here to invite us to step into that most delicate, delicate, dynamic essence of our being, and to expand upon that and to guide us through a journey into that, and from there into our world. So welcome, Marg. Let's we have a in Fearless Communicators, it's called elevated sparkulation. Whenever you feel inspired by something, if something moves you, feel free to express that in any way. And in this way, we'll use it as a welcome to Marg. Welcome, Marg. We look forward to hearing from you and to taking us on this journey.
Thank you, Yo. I really loved hearing you use the word delicate around our creativity, because it is something that's very precious to all of us, and I believe it's our birthright. And so many of us carry wounds around our creativity, which is partly what I'm wanting to talk about today. So first, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I am an artist and an art therapist, and for a long time I didn't give myself permission to call myself an artist. I didn't think I was allowed to be an artist, and that really came from my growing up with big sister who is extremely talented and extremely successful as a visual artist. So she is currently the head of the drawing department at the National Art School, and yeah, has all sorts of success. And so growing up with her, she was always making art and she was always doing really well. And for me, somehow I formed a belief that because she was an artist and because she was so good, I couldn't be an artist. There was no point in even trying because I would never be as good as she was. And so I fostered this belief, and I guess simultaneously there was a sense of a part of me that dreamed of being an artist. I wanted to be an artist, but I kind of denied that voice mostly. So talking about art wounds, that wound didn't come from anybody saying, you're not good enough, you can't do this. It came from me translating what was happening in my family life into that belief. So my sister's actually been very supportive of my art making. So yeah, I wasn't told my art was bad or those kinds of things. But art wounds often do come from that. So for instance, I was told when I went to my one and only ballet class that I looked like a baby elephant. So I'm sure that many of you have similar experiences. I know I had a woman in a workshop once, we were just doing a scribble activity to warm up, just the very beginning of a workshop. And she was so triggered because as a young child, she had been told that she was wasting paper when she was scribbling. To me, that's criminal. How do we learn to express ourselves if we can't scribble? I'm a great advocate of scribbling. And I see a lot of beauty in scribbling. So similarly, I'm working with a child at the moment, a 5-year-old, who in one session made a mark like this long, an inch, maybe 2 inches long. And that was all she put on the paper, but that was already a mistake and she had to start again and had so much anxiety around this small mark. What is going on in the world that we can't express ourselves freely? And I know people have similar experiences of being kicked out of the school choir because they're singing out of tune, or I don't know if anyone else had those at birthday parties. We'd have like elimination dance competitions.
Yes.
And I was always eliminated like right up front because I had the belief that I was like a baby elephant when I danced. So I'm really curious how many people have these art wounds, and they can be in relation to all sorts of things to so yeah, if you've got an art wound, you can pop it in the chat if you feel comfortable and safe to do so.
Yeah, there's such yeah, you're right, such powerful messages we get about. I know for me, mine is an art wound or womb, interesting, is about being too much, too loud. You know, don't take up too much space.
Too expressive.
Yeah, yes. Or yes. What about you? It'd be great to hear some, to share some of the messages that we're holding around art and creativity. Often I hear, because I do a lot of work in bringing creativity into communication, and people say, oh, well, it's just fun. And I believe it's more than just fun, in fact. So it gets diminished in that way. Shell shared that your dad used to say, great voice, rough passage though, ouch. Yeah. Deb, too messy. I didn't stay in the lines, that's right. The lines, the parameters.
colouring in.
Susie, at your art class at school, then the judge whose drawing was the best. Yeah, there's a real, oh, I'm not the best, a heaviness to that.
Yes. Which is it's a myth, the best art.
That's right.
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
Colouring out. You call it colouring out, Sally, yes. Yeah, that's nice. Colouring out our creativity. Nicola, making spelling mistakes, so never wrote the story, just had to repeat the heading without a mistake, and it held you back from letting your story come out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
And then interestingly, in my school reports at that time, the report would be does not develop ideas.
I wonder why.
Yeah, and it's like I was never, and here I've got these little books, and all I was allowed to do was write the heading while everybody else was writing their story because I couldn't write it, and even then I was inconsistently not writing it. I know, amazing.
Because you didn't write it properly.
Yeah.
Tiff says they come from your own brain. Yeah, when I had to start making money, yes. Yeah, that's a really strong pattern, isn't it? In terms of, am I really resonate with that. Am I creative enough to what is it, make money out of this, to be valued?
Yeah. I actually went, I have a Bachelor of Creative Arts and was practicing as and exhibiting as an artist for a few years, and working part-time in an art gallery as a, so that was my casual work. And gradually the amount of work that I was taking on to earn money because I needed to eat and pay rent kind of became more than the amount of time I was dedicating to my work until I took a full-time job in the arts. I still kind of work in the arts, but then with each successive move to a rental place, my studio got smaller and smaller and smaller, and now it doesn't exist at all. And it's only recently that I've started, drawing and painting again, but just, really small. And it's my, yeah, thank you. It's my, it's my cat, and it's, it's a way of connecting with my cat, but I like the way that you were talking about delicacy as well. It's, a lot of my work was very motivated by kind of social justice issues. So it was loud, it was big, it was bright, it was confronting. And the work that I'm doing now is really gentle. It's kind of tapping into a different self and a more vulnerable side, I think. And yeah, so I'm rediscovering it and trying to reignite that spark. So this is perfect to be here. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you everyone for sharing. I might just add another story I heard the other day. I had a post on Instagram that somebody replied to that said, she said that she'd been, as a like a 11, 12-year-old, she'd been really good on a particular musical instrument to the extent that she was winning awards and appearing in, like, on the newspaper. And when she came to school one day, her music teacher said something about her, that she could come in if her head would fit in the door. And so there's just an incredible amount of shaming from adults to young children. And, I know many of us have experienced this. I'm just having a little moment of panic because my computer's saying that the battery is low and I thought it was plugged in. So if you can just wait a sec while I check that the PowerPoint is turned on.
Sure, Marg. In the meantime, I was just reading Paula's shared around the inner critic of not feeling good enough and not feeling worthy. That is such a powerful, yeah. And how do I say that? Shekinah?
Sorry, Shekinah.
Shekinah, hi Shekinah. That's how you were not allowed to join the school choir because you're not good enough.
Persia,
Yeah.
actually, Persia. I wrote that.
Oh, Persia. Oh, hi. Yes, yeah.
Actually, yeah.
You've been singing for years, entertaining family and friends, but no, you weren't good enough for the school choir.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Again. And then Jen, I was supposed to be the academic one and not the creative one. That's interesting. You know, oh no, you know, I'm not creative, or yes, how we identify and get identified. Yep. You back, Marg?
Yes, I'm back, and fingers
Yay.
crossed. I mean, it looked like it was turned on, but I just plugged it into another spot, and hopefully I won't suddenly disappear.
Let's hope not.
Okay, so we know what an art wound is, and it's something that most people have from my experience. My own art wound, or healing of my own art wound, has been a process, and you know, it continues. It's a big thing for any of us to just fully stand in our power as creative people and not give a damn what anyone else thinks. So it's an ongoing journey, I think, throughout our lives to live into that power. When I was in my mid-20s, I was living in Tasmania, and I had a dream that I was with my sister and a mutual friend who was also an artist. And we were in the bush, and this friend found some ancient, I think it was Aboriginal art, ancient art. And she was showing it to me, and it was almost like an initiation. And then my sister came along and said, oh, no, 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 you can't do that. And so from that dream, I had the two voices that were within me. One was the one that this is my ancestral right to be an artist. And the other voice saying, no, you're not allowed to be an artist. I don't give you permission. And I guess that dream was kind of like a turning point, or maybe not so much a turning point, but a point in my process where I really started to work with that voice that wasn't giving me permission. And so I lived in the bush. It was quite isolated. It was a great place for me to explore and not worry about what other people were thinking. And I had practices like, I remember one time just thinking, okay, I'm just going to embody a young child and draw. And so I practiced just drawing like a little child, like a maybe 3-year-old. And what does that feel like? And so setting up things for myself to just make images that didn't need to be anything special. And I guess through my work as an art therapist, I continue to develop these sorts of practices to support other people to have experiences that open up the limitations.
Do you think, Marg, that's where you came to art therapy, through that tension in yourself that you were holding?
Well, it's kind of interesting because when I finished school, I did a BA with a major in art history. And then I did a dip ed in visual arts. And from there, I did a master's in art therapy. And so it was kind of like this constant thing. I want to be an artist. I want to be an artist. I want to be an artist, but I'm not allowed. So I'll just do these other things that kind of go around the back door in a way. And at the same time, I do think, yes, Johanna, that my own experience has given me this drive to support others to be free in their expression and to have permission to express themselves, to make their mark.
It's such a key, isn't it, that permission giving?
Yes.
To make your mark.
It is. It absolutely is a key.
Mm.
And whilst I'm talking about visual arts, I believe that what I'm saying is relevant to any art form, any form of creative expression that that anyone wants to explore. So the art wounds. So on top of our art wounds, we have the dominant narrative around art. What is good art? Who is allowed to be an artist? And that is shaped by the patriarchy and capitalism. So art has become an exclusive field, which is male dominated, and it's also become commodified. So really, you can only make art if you can sell it. If you can't sell it, don't bother. And somebody external from you will decide whether you can sell it or not. And so we internalize these messages on top of our art wounds, and then we get really stuck. So we're already not good enough, and then the world outside is telling us we're not good enough. Okay. So I want to make it clear that I love art. I love high art. I love art galleries. I love concerts. I love theatre. I love literature, music. I do love it all, and I see that there's a really great place in the world for it. And I encourage us as women to claim our place in the high arts if that's what we want to do. I also see that there is a place for art making that isn't exclusive and isn't commodified, is just because that is what we as human beings need to do. We need to express ourselves creatively. It is our birthright. And as part of it being our birthright, or I guess the reason that I feel so passionately about encouraging us all to express ourselves creatively is because it is a way in. It's an entry point into our inner psyches. And it is something that we have done since humans roamed the planet. Okay, we've always done it. And in the beginning, it wasn't exclusive and it wasn't commodified. We did it together. And we did it because it helps us make meaning and it helps us understand ourselves and grow. So this is really why I'm promoting and encouraging people to work with these art wounds and find the power of their voices so that we can all access this really powerful tool for healing and self-knowledge and spiritual connection.
So many different layers, isn't it, that it works on, that our creativity is connected to. It is, those, like you said, that deep connection to psyche, but also spirit and, universal forces and, powerful.
Yeah.
Did you want, I know you had some slides at some point. Would you like to?
So, I just am going to show you some slides and,
Since we're talking about art and visual art, we'll have a look at some imagery.
Oh, whoops. So I'm going to share some images with you, and I guess while we're looking, I'll give you some ideas about things that you can think about. So I guess partly what I would like you or invite you to think about is these ideas of right and wrong and good and bad that we get from outside. And I'm hoping that these images can kind of break those open a little bit and say, well, actually, look, I mean, this image that I've got on the screen here now, he is a very successful Melbourne artist. So, you know, already that kind of opens up, well, right, you can do that, can you? That's interesting. And look at this. I mean, this is ancient art. So simple, so beautiful. And some more. This is what we all did together a long, long time ago.
Mm.
I know, so I'll just keep talking while I show you the slides and just have a look and think and yeah, open to possibility. I have one client who has Down syndrome and is on the autism spectrum, and he doesn't speak. And he has been actually one of my greatest inspirations and teachers in art making, because he comes in, he chooses 3 or 4 colors, puts them in the palette, gets a brush, and he just starts painting. And I find it incredibly exciting just watching the paint come off the brush. And then, you know, normally when people paint, they're kind of careful not to get the colors mixed up, and they rinse their brush in between colors. He doesn't do that. He just paints, and he just keeps on painting until there's no more paint left in the palette. And like it goes through this process where it gets, oh, he's got a couple of colors on there. Like, oh my God, it is so beautiful. How do you do that? And then he puts the brush in and he's going to get another color on, and I'm like, oh my God, no, you're going to ruin it. And then he puts it on, and somehow miraculously it works. Just the most beautiful freedom I see watching him paint. So this is, I don't know how many of you know of Marg Rothko, but he was an American artist and just painted colours with incredible energy and the way they kind of resonate with each other and the softness of the edges. Jackson Pollock, that abstract expressionism, where
Kind of reminds me of the story of the young guy you were just talking about. You know, just letting that kind of, there's a that
out, just
out.
let it out. Really.
And somehow in that it comes together. There's a language in that because you're expressing yourself, that spirit, that you know, yeah.
This image is from outsider art, which is a big movement around, I think, like people with like neurally diverse and mental illnesses.
I love that. Outsider art. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Oh, no, sorry. I can't.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to get it wrong.
Okay.
It's not fresh with me, but certainly look it up. It's a big movement. And, you know, this is so beautiful and interesting, just almost like kind of, yeah, like doodling and asymmetrical eyes, some music, and yeah. This is by a person with a disability. This one. This is an artist called Sonia Delaney, who was working in Paris with her husband in the middle or early part of last century, I think. And she also did some fashion design, textile design. Another one of hers.
Beautiful.
I think that is by a child. Apparently I just kind of Googled and stole an image from Google that said it was by a child. This is by a former client of mine who had dementia. That's one of mine, inspired by my client. And here, problem? No problem.
Which brings us to the next stage, Marg, that you want to explore with us around the problems that we create and are created around us in terms of our art making and this expression.
So there's lots of reasons why people stop themselves from making art. So there's the art wound that we've been talking about. And then there's often some simple things, and I know Tiff referred to it earlier. We often say, well, I don't have the space. I don't have any space to make art. And even worse, I don't have any time because I'm working full time and I've got kids and whatever. And then another one, another one is I'm worried about what people are going to say or think when they see my scribbles or whatever it is. And then the fourth one, which someone else has referred to as well, and which comes purely from our art wounds, is our inner critic or our self-harassment around our art making. So I want to share with you a tool that I have developed to help people free up the creativity and work with the art wound. And in sharing it with you, I will talk through these four things that we have that stop us. So the lack of time, lack of space, worried about what other people think, and the inner critic. So what I have here that I'm going to try and show you is a pile of paper, and everything in this pile of paper would normally go into my recycle bin. So how many people buy Who Gives a Crap toilet paper? So you know they wrap it in this beautiful paper. So you can tear that in pieces. So I just make like a really strong fold, and when you've got a strong folding paper, you just tear it. You can tear it easily. So then you've got your 4 pieces of paper from your Who Gives a Crap toilet paper, double-sided, nice pattern on one side, blank on the other side. I've got a letter from my insurance company saying if I've got another car, they'll give me such and such, and then if I insure it with them. So there's stuff all over it, writing and loud redness. There's a bit more of that same letter. There's the envelope, and I do love envelopes, especially when they've got like a window, because you can put things in there and they peep through. There's a bit of paper that had a drawing on it and some scribbles and stuff, which I've also torn up. There's a to-do list. There's like a business card, some description. Paper bag, love paper bags. So that one's kind of been torn open. It's nice and crumpled, so it's got lots of lovely texture. Another kind of, I don't know, bit of writing, to-do list. What else do I have? So, paper napkin. And some old drawings that, like, I don't know, didn't go anywhere.
And so, Marg, what do you do with these? You bring them together and...
So what you do with these is you put them all together. They don't have to be the same size. It doesn't matter what they are. They don't have to be blank. You put them all together and kind of like tap them down on the table so one end is all even. On one side it's all even. And then you grab a bulldog clip and you clip them together. And there you have what I'm calling a bulldog clip art journal, but which I'm looking for another name for, open to suggestions. So anything that you would put in your recycling bin, you can just tear to size or not and clip it together with a bulldog clip. So you could make one, you could make a little one that fits in your handbag. So
Clip, snip,
took
journal.
ideas around this Bulldog Clip journal. So one thing is that many of us, when we're faced with a blank piece of paper, there can be a degree of anxiety. Like, what if I wreck it? What if it's not good enough? So if it's just a piece of rubbish, that doesn't matter anymore. Okay? If there's already something on it, that kind of makes something interesting. So the bits of writing or whatever else that's on it can become a texture in your image making. So I have one which I kind of keep on my kitchen table, and I just have a jar of pens and a box of crayons. And just when sometimes I'm having a cup of tea or breakfast, I'll just sit and scribble. So there's so many ways that you can use this, and I've got so many like ideas and prompts around how you can use it. And I will share a few of them with you this morning. But
so, do you think we've got time to make a scribble and that way explore these 4 dimensions of? I'm just looking at the time now, and in the last 5-10 minutes, to actually make our mark and explore maybe the 4 voices.
Yeah, I think we do. If people have a piece of paper and drawing implement nearby, even if you've just got a drawing implement, you could use your hand to draw on if you don't have paper. So before we go into that, I just want to say that the issue of space is dealt with your Bulldog Clip journal, because you don't need a lot of space. And if you make one that fits in your handbag, like half this size or smaller, you can use it while you're waiting for the bus or while you're on a queue or whatever. So space is not such a big issue. Time, again, it doesn't have to take long, and you don't have to complete anything. You can come back and forth to work with it. What other people think doesn't matter, because they're never going to see it unless you show them. So that's out the window. So the last one that we're left to deal with is the self-harassment. And I know that I have it. I was drawing the other day. I started drawing and this voice came in saying, I can't do it. Like, oh, really? We've only just started. So it's there. But the great thing is that, and this is the thing about art making being a way in, it's amazing how as soon as you pick up a pen and start making mark on a piece of paper, you start to hear that voice. So, okay, let's listen to that voice. Let her say what she's got to say and let's have a chat with her. So, okay, so you're feeling like you can't do this right now. All right, well, I'll let you feel that, but you know what? I'm going to have a go and just see what happens. So we end up having a dialogue with this inner critic. She's allowed to be there. She's got something to say. She's been wounded. She's been told that she can't do that because she's not good enough. So I reckon she deserves a chance to say, I'm hurting. I'm feeling really unsafe. I feel like I can't do this. Let's hear her and let's give back to her what she didn't get when she was wounded. Wow.
Powerful. Beautiful.
Yeah. Let's do that for ourselves.
Now.
So your Bulldog Clip journal is a relationship with your inner critic, with your self-harassment. It's an opportunity to share your love with her so she can move towards healing and you can grow in confidence in making your mark in the world. So whether you're a musician or a writer or a visual artist, whatever you are, You can talk to her here. You can listen to her here. You can share your love with her here, because there's no rules.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's celebrate that message. Beautiful, Marg. So will we make our mark now? Do you think? And
I think, do we have time?
We've got a few minutes. It'd be nice to just, I don't know, lead us through something to make our mark and a reflection.
Yeah. So I think often, I know for me, when I start to make an image, I draw a line. And I think it's true for a lot of people. So I'm thinking, let's see if we can break that open. And let's see if we can draw a shape without like starting with a line. So imagine, like if I say, okay, draw a circle, you're all going to draw a circle with a line. How about you draw a circle without drawing that outline? You're just drawing the inside of the circle. Does that make sense? Or any shape, it doesn't have to be a circle. Does everybody understand? Put up your hand if you need clarification. Okay, great. Okay. So that's just a simple thing that we can bring to our art making. Okay, let me have a go at drawing the inside of what I'm drawing before I draw the outside. Does that make sense? So rather, yeah. And
will we share them?
Yeah, if you'd like to share them, that would be great. Beautiful, Deb. Oh, cool, Susie. Pretty cat. Shakina, beautiful. Oh, Johanna, freedom. Nicola, I missed yours. Fantastic. Wow.
Maybe it'd be good. I wonder what the message is. Like for me, when I wrote that, I had to consciously say to myself, chaos is okay.
Okay. Did anybody else notice any voices coming in at all, or any conversation you had to have with yourself?
I actually noticed how often I start with just doing swirling movements across, and then a shape comes from that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Cool. So that's great.
Following that. Sorry.
It's great to notice what you normally do, and no reason to stop what you normally do, except that it can expand your vocabulary, your mark making vocabulary, if you try and start in different ways. So should I maybe just talk through a few other ways that you can use your...
Yeah, let me see. How are we going with the time? You've got a couple of minutes if you can, if you wanted to share some.
A few quick tips. You could keep a magazine beside your, like where you go to in the toilet, and if you've got time in there, you can just flick through. If you find something that you really like, an image you really love, you can tear it out and you can pop it in one of your envelopes in your bulldog clip journal. Just pop it in there. because one of the things that I think is really great to nurture is your relationship with beauty. So your journal becomes a place of beauty. So, you know, it starts off as a pile of rubbish, but you grow this loving relationship with it. And, you know, sometime you might find that you take that image out and you paste it onto a page, and you might write something or draw something else around it. The other thing that I love about this art journal, bulldog clip journal idea, is that you can take the clip off and you can move the pages around. So if you so it doesn't have to be linear. So it might be, oh, I'm up to this page. No, I don't really feel like that. So you unclip it and you pull it out and find which page you do feel like working on today. The other thing that you can do is, when you've collected a few pages with marks on them that you've made, you can, so you can't, every time you're making a mark, you're noticing, wow, this is horrible, oh my God, it's so bad, or wow, I love this, whatever it is that you're noticing. And for the ones that you don't like, just leave them there, let them be, revisit them. And it may be that one day you come back to one and you rework it and turn it into something that you enjoy more. Or it may be that you tear it up and collage it onto another page and it becomes something else. So I guess what I'm saying is that every mark that you make on any page in here is sacred. So every time you take a piece of your image making and screw it up and throw it in the bin, you are like pandering to that art wound. You're hurting yourself. Let it be sacred, delicate and precious.
Beautiful.
Sally, you had your hand up.
Yeah, well, I was privileged to get a preview of this with Marg the other day, my confession, and along with my sister, who doesn't identify as an artist, and she was absolutely thrilled over the moon by this whole process and ran around gathering all this stuff. And I'm just saying, one of the things she loved about it was that being able to work, feeling free to use both sides of the paper, even that.
Yeah.
It's just like, here it all is, and you can do, you know, paint over stuff, draw over stuff, you know, make use of all those receipts hanging out in your wallet or whatever. Yeah. Very inspiring.
Isn't it? Because it's just so there for you, you know, and I love what you're saying, Marg, around, you know, you're really using it to be with yourself. It's not for anyone else. It's actually for you to be with your creative process. And it's easy. It's so accessible, rather than, oh, I have to get the right paper and the right pen and the right, you know, all of that, like you said, the right time. No, now is it, oh, look, I've got a receipt. I'm going to just scribble something on there and put it on my bulldog clip, and not throwing things out like that. That in itself is, reiterating that wound. How can we just be with what we deem imperfect and just be with that and let that move or change? Beautiful.
And being creative around what you think you can draw on. So that will involve collecting different mark making implements. So you can get like paint pens that you can draw on glass or metal with. So I know of a person who once wrote a letter on a squashed tin can. You could stick a tin can in your journal. I mean, there's no rules. We're so boxed into, it has to be a square piece of paper and it has to be white and blank. What else can you draw on? So collect different kinds of implements so that, you know, if you come across your glossy insurance company thing, you've got something that will actually draw on it.
Great. Wonderful.
Just have a little kit, little collection, explore, experiment, treat yourself from time to time in the art supply shop to a little expensive crayon or
Marg, and this is, it's so I mean, it's exciting and liberating. I too remember when you shared it with me thinking, oh, what a fantastic idea. How, as I said, so accessible. And Marg, I think you wanted to share that you've got a process coming up. You wanted to invite for you to guide people on this process. Did you want to share a little bit about that before we move to close? And put your email in the chat.
I think I did just pop my email in the chat. It may have got lost, so I can pop it in again. But
no, it's there. It's there.
No, it's there.
Okay, great. So basically, there are squillions of ways that you can use your Bulldog Clip journal, and I have in the process of structuring like a workshop or a series of workshops around different ways of using it. So if you're interested in me keeping you posted about that and having you on my mailing list, just grab my email address and send me an email and I will keep in touch. And I'm sure that you can all find your own ways of working with this document. And I want to share some words about it. So what it becomes is an archive of experiments and accidents. So you have your very own archive and something that you can reference. You can go back and say, wow, I love that, or not so keen on that. And so you have a document that gives you information about how you like to make your mark.
Oh, bravo, Marg. That's such an important messaging for us all to hear. I wonder, do we want to share what is the message for you and your creativity? Very briefly, let's just, because of time, in one word, what is the message of permission to your creativity that you've heard in this session with Marg? Let's take ourselves off mute. We're small enough, and we'll just hear one word each.
Mine is doodle.
Mine is, mine is 3 words. Grab and go.
Mine is inspired.
Mine is freedom.
Freedom.
Mine's a new word, quizzital, inquisitive, quizzital. I probably can't spell it.
Wonderful, I love it.
Quizzital.
Mine's anywhere.
Yes.
Possibility.
Liberation. Mine is delight.
Mine is
mine-
mark.
Yeah, I like that.
My mark, yes. Yeah, I love that message. Tiff?
And similarly, my beauty.
Wow. Thanks so much, Marg. Did we hear from
Shell?
everyone?
Can you hear from Shell?
Oh, sorry, Shell.
Keep doing.
Keep doing,
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Marg. It's so rich and such an important message. And as I said, I just love this. What names do we get for the Bulldog Clip art? I think there are some few clip art, dog ends, clip snip journal, like Art Brute. Art Brute, some fantastic names. I just think that is wonderful.
Maybe Bulldog Clip Journal is the name for it. Maybe
maybe
that's how
it
it started out, and it seems to keep going.
Yeah.
And that's good enough.
Yeah.
So we'll come to close. Deb?
I just wanted to say thanks, everybody. It really, really has. You've given me great delight here in Brooklyn, a little bit of connecting, just hearing the Australian accent. It's just so, it's like having a nap. Thank you to Marg for being with us. Thank you to Yo, Marg and Yo, and also Jen Barkman on this call, 3 of our Fearless Force women who have our Fearless Communicators, Fearless Force program. Yes.
Yes.
And we're coming back and we're doing more, and lots is happening. And next week, we're back again on Wednesday morning with one of our fearless women. Her name is Kristen Haywood, and she has identified herself as the gift spotter. So she's going to be talking about our divine nature and accessing our gifts and how we can bring them forward, and what that means when we're dealing also with the ego. It's going to be fun. It's going to be next Wednesday, back on this Bat channel. Everybody who's been on this call is going to get a replay of this call, a link to the replay, and also a link to join us on the next chat with Chris Haywood. The other thing that Yo and I are doing is we're interested in women, we're interested in stories, we're interested in Australian women or Australasian women. If you think that there's something that you would like to speak about on a Moving Fearlessly chat, you can chat to Yo and I, because we are creating and curating this series, and it's all about amazing women and bringing your stories and your gifts to light. And so in that, Yo, thank you. Always a pleasure to be with you. Marg, I love you. Thank you for bringing doodling back into my life.
Yes. And we're going to finish with a classic finish that we have been with the Fearless, is just to acknowledge each other. And it's just simply, I'm going to say, Marg Coutts, I see you, and I thank you so much for being here. And Marg is going to pass it on to someone else and someone else and someone else until we're finished. So we've all our voices are here and we've seen and acknowledged everyone. Off after you, Marg.
Marion McCarter, I acknowledge you. It is so amazing to see you today after maybe 25 years. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. I can't see their names. I acknowledge Shell. It's just beautiful to see you, one of many of these wonderful women on this site, and I hope to come back to this site again.
They'll take yourself off mute.
Yeah, everyone take yourself off mute so you can just speak it out.
Jen, I see you, and as always, it's an absolute pleasure just to sit with you, even in our little box.
Persia, I see you and really appreciate you down there sitting in front of the Moon Diary produce sign. It's just so lovely to see you. So thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you. Lucy, I want to acknowledge you. You were a little bit obscured by my Zoom group chat screen, but now I can see you fully. And I love what you've got in the background of your little box. It's very rich. Thank you.
I want to acknowledge Sally, who I haven't seen in a very long time. And it's so lovely to play with Sally because she always has a paintbrush in her hand. And it's lovely to, yeah, there it is, to see you there.
Thanks, Lucy. And I'd like to acknowledge Paula. Really beautiful to see you. So many surprises. Beautiful to see you. And love your just beaming, gorgeous, peaceful, loving energy.
Thank you. It's been so beautiful. I'd like to acknowledge Ursula, and I agree with you. Thank you for sharing this magical hour. It has been magical. And may the magic continue to resonate for you.
Thanks, Paula. I'd like to acknowledge Yo. Thank you so much for hosting us this hour. It really has been magical. It's so beautiful to see you and to connect with you in this little Zoom space.
Oh, it's bring little tears to my eyes. This is my niece, Ursula. So it's so lovely you joined us, Urs.
Thank you for
And I'm touched deeply, joyously. And I'm going to acknowledge Tiffany. Great to see you again and to hear from you in your creative journey and to hear your creative journey.
Thank you, Joanna. I'd like to acknowledge Nicola, and I love your dog ends.
Oh, thank you. And
Who hasn't been acknowledged yet?
Deborah? I'd like to acknowledge Deborah. And just your energy that you bring to this, and I'm a New Zealand accent, so might you at home in Australia as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Nicola. And I would like to acknowledge Shakina down there, also in front of the Moon Diary. So beautiful to have you with us. Thank you for your time and your energy and your beautiful face.
Thank you.
And Shakina, you get the privilege to acknowledge all of us, and we'll all finish with a sparklation as you acknowledge the whole group.
Oh, thank you very much, everybody. It's been incredibly inspiring.
Yeah.
Yay! We hope to see you all again and go forth and make your mark.
Go and make some art.
Thank you so much for coming, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yo and Deb, for holding me.